All right, so I'm really thrilled to be on this stage right now because this is my first big talk in Pittsburgh, but it was supposed to be my second. Who here is a member of PHRA? Raise your hand. So I was supposed to do a dual keynote speech at PHRA at the conference last September with my business partner, Sertrice Grice. And when people look at me and Sertrice, they often think that I, as the white woman, am her ally, but in actuality, we have way more in common than we don't. And there's been many cases where Sertrice has had to be my ally, and that speech, at the PHRA, this was my semicolon moment. Who here has heard of Project Semicolon? Raise your hand. So for those of you who haven't, a semicolon is where an author could have chose to end their sentence, and they chose not to. And the author is you, and the sentence is your life. And I had my semicolon moment where I ended up in the hospital due to a mental health crisis, so I couldn't attend that PHRA dual workshop. So Sertrice stepped up as my intersectional ally. She was my mental health ally that day. We could have canceled the talk. She took the talk and was my ally. And so allyship is an intersectional concept. Diversity is how we see each other, and thank you. Diversity is how we see each other, and we all fit in this picture. We all have a race, we all have an age, we all have an identity, and yes, old white men do fit into this diversity picture. If diversity is how we see each other, inclusion is how we treat each other, and equity is how we elevate those who've been historically left behind. But I really want to focus on the inclusion piece here, because inclusion, it's a behavioral construct. It's what we do, and we found through our work and our research, there's 3 levels of inclusion. The first is everyday inclusion. These are the opposite of microaggressions. They're microaffirmations. What can you do to show someone that they're valued, respected, seen, and heard? Leaders then have an opportunity to be inclusive. And then allyship. That's like the creme de la creme, but it also comes with a bad rep, right? We have tokenism. So, hey, you belong to a certain identity group, so you need an ally. Or it's performative. Ooh, I'm an ally, but I don't actually do the work. Or we have people coming and wanting to save the day, or we're focusing on our intention over our impact. Allyship needs to be understood as an ongoing relationship between an ally and their partner, working together for the shared goal of fairness, equity, and social justice. You cannot ally alone. You must do it in partnership with someone else. Allies use their power and status to support and advocate for someone who doesn't share a key part of their identity. So this is why Sertrice was my ally. She does not struggle with mental health issues, whereas I do. I'm her ally in cases where it does make sense to leverage my whiteness and my privilege to support her and advocate for her. Rule number 1 of allyship, don't call yourself an ally. This is how we get out of the performative stuff. Let someone else call you their ally. You know you're doing it right whenever someone says that you're being an ally to them. So let's stop calling ourselves allies and start acting like them. Allyship is also a fluid concept, so it just depends on who's in the position of power in a situation, but allies are curious, they're humble, and they're courageous. Partners, the other side of that ally partnership, you have to have self-awareness, you have to have trust and give grace, and you have to have a strong bias for action, because an ally is not who you are, but an ally is what you do. My English grammar major friends hate this, but I always say treat allyship as a verb. It's what you do. You aren't an ally, you do allyship. Allyship in action, so think of it 4 different ways. It can be in the moment, or it can be ongoing. It can be one-on-one with someone else, or it can be on behalf of an entire group. As long as it fits in one of these quadrants, and I know how you HR people love quadrants, then you know you're doing allyship right. So a little bit of science about allyship. So I've done extensive research on what actually reduces unconscious bias. Surprise, surprise, people, it is not unconscious bias training. It's actually a method called exposure, which is sheer interacting with people who are different than yourself. That's how we reduce biases. It's a very simple solution. Boston Consulting Group found that DEI initiatives that actively involve allies are over 3 times as effective compared to DEI initiatives that do not involve allies. It's a numbers game. Now, sometimes we hear when it comes to DEI, majority group members, old white men, say, it's not my place. I'm not part of this. I'm excluded. I don't know what to do. Allyship is a way of bringing in these majority groups that typically don't see themselves as part of DEI efforts, whether it's our executive leaders at the top of the organization or those who are in white, male, straight, able-bodied groups all across the entire organization. Oh, I'm ahead of the game. I didn't expect that to happen at all. All right, so I implore you all, think about ways how you can use allyship to accelerate diversity, equity, inclusion in your organization. Are you gonna train on allyship behaviors? Are you gonna start forming some ally partner pairs? Are you gonna start leveraging allies in your employee resource groups? Now, this is not an album cover, but this is me and Certrice, and I have to say, as much as I try to be her ally and she tries to be mine, if we had more ally partnerships like Certrice and mine and the success that we get to share together in all organizations, think about how beautiful DEI could be. Thank you.